Hi, sweetie pie. Um, it's a beautiful evening, almost 6 o'clock. It's dark because it's winter time, and it's been raining all day. But where you are, you're getting snow. Hope it's a beautiful snow. So I'm going to keep reading more poems. We're up to March 22nd in this book of Days to Celebrate, and the birthday that they're commenting on now is March 22nd, which is right around the first day of spring. And it's the birthday of someone named Billy Collins, who was born in 1941. In 2001, he became America's 11th Poet Laureate. He was born in New York City. He is known for both his serious and humorous poems. Although his works have been published for adults, there is much he says to all of us at any age, as in his poem called Introduction to Poetry by Billy Collins. I ask them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, or press an ear against its hive. I say drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out, or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with a rope and torture a confession out of it. They begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means. This is a good poem because it's very true. We aren't very used to poems anymore in our culture, and so we don't know what to make of it because it's not as clear-cut as just prose, words in a sentence, and even that's sometimes getting replaced by videos and shows and things like that we watch. So the words of poetry, where it's a message but that's distilled into many fewer words, and a lot of times the thing that's being talked about is abstract or ethereal or different things for different people, unlike a newspaper article, which is pretty clear cut. It can be very off-putting for people, and so especially students, and I think that's what he's writing to here when he says, I ask them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, but it could really be all of us. Not babies so much because you probably get it, but this is a good poem and I'm going to read it again. Introduction to Poetry by Billy Collins. I ask them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, or press an ear against its hive. I say drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out, or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with a rope and torture a confession out of it. They begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means. Well, this is a good thing to keep in mind when we're looking at poems and we aren't quite sure what they mean and tempted to just walk away from it. Instead of spending a little time with it in different ways, that's sort of what he talks about here. Hold it up to the light like a color slide. He doesn't mean you actually hold the page up. He means look at it different ways and think about it and look into it. And you don't need to just read it and know what the one way of taking it is. Or press an ear against its hive like we do with a beehive to see if the bees are alive inside. Drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out. These are all ways of saying, let's look at it differently and explore it differently. And it's kind of cool to think about. I think I will read poems a little more differently now. I read one last week by Tennyson. No. Who was it by? But anyway, I wasn't sure what it meant. I had to keep reading and reading. And at first that could be frustrating. But then it's kind of cool because you really are kind of doing what he's saying. you're experiencing it in a lot of different ways and thinking about it long after you put the book down. So we'll do a lot more of this. And we won't need to just find out what it really means. We'll find out much more. Next one is March 26th. The birth date is Robert Lee Frost, who's a very famous poet, 1874 to 1963. That's interesting that he died in 63. That's the year that President Kennedy died. And Robert Frost was at the Kennedy inauguration in 1961, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yes, that's what it says. Well, he was in 1962, on March 26th, his 88th birthday, he was awarded the Congressional Medal at the White House by President John F. Kennedy. He's a 4-time Pulitzer Prize-winning poet and among America's most beloved writers. He was born in San Francisco, but he lived most of his life in New England, where he created poems about nature and the seasons. And here's one of them. Blue Butterfly Day by Robert Frost. It was a blue butterfly day here in spring, and with these sky flakes down in flurry on flurry, there is more unmixed color on the wing than flowers will show for days unless they hurry. But these are flowers that fly and all but sing, and now from having ridden out desire, they lie closed over in the wind and cling where wheels have freshly sliced the April mire. I'm going to read it again. It was a blue butterfly day here in spring, and with these skyflakes down in flurry on flurry, there is more unmixed color on the wing than flowers will show for days unless they hurry. But these are flowers that fly and all but sing, and now from having ridden out desire, they lie closed over in the wind and cling where wheels have freshly sliced the April mire. That was Blue Butterfly Day by Robert Frost. Should we read one more? This is a short one, and it's celebrating the patent of the first pencil with an attached eraser on March 30th, 1858. Wooden pencils have been around since 1683, when J. Pettis took a small stick of cedar, slid it down the middle, hollowed out the center, inserted a piece of graphite, and glued it all together. It took nearly 200 years before Hyman L. Lipman from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, came up with the idea of attaching erasers to them. Well, that's a good point. I never knew that. Not a point, I mean a good piece of history. It's a very short poem called Pencils by Beverly McLoughland. On my desk, in a small brown vase, a bouquet of tall yellow flowers smelling of cedar. And there's the picture that goes with that poem. And here's the picture that goes with the Blue Butterfly Day. I'll read the pencil one again. Pencils by Beverly McLoughland. On my desk, in a small brown vase, a bouquet of tall yellow flowers smelling of cedar. And then they have April events, and we'll come back and look at more of these, but let's just see what we see right away. April 11th, 1968, U.S. Civil Rights Act becomes law. April 23rd is the birth date of William Shakespeare. And a week before, April 15th, is the birth date of Leonardo da Vinci. And the week before that is the birth date of Ravi Shankar, the Indian sitarist and composer. So we have a lot of interesting things coming up in April. And I think I'll stop right here just because it's almost 10 minutes and we can read more another time. I love you, sweetie pie. More poems, more poem fun together. Bye bye.